this. No, it doesn't work like that. So I wanted to start doing video journals of starting with my beginning family, just so then people know more about me, because I tend to keep things to myself, and I don't want to be like that anymore. I want to care. I want people to care. I want people to know, that they're not alone in some of these situations, and I don't want any pity when it comes to it at all. That's the reason why I don't tell people, is because my biggest fear is pity, and it's really not what I'm about. So I'll get started with my mother's side. My mother's family came from Costa Rica and Puerto Rico. My grandfather was from Puerto Rico. He was a womanizer, and he had a child with my grandmother, which was my mother, and they didn't stick around together. My grandmother moved to New York to have my mom, and she got her visa and everything. She wasn't an illegal immigrant or anything like that. And then they had my uncle, who was like 5-6 years younger than my mother, and they visited Costa Rica a lot. Most of my family is still back in that part, so technically I'm a second generation immigrant, which I mean isn't that bad, but since the whole talk about like immigration and such like that, people have been like, oh, send back all their children, which I mean, like, technically that would be my mother too, and that means I'd be gone. So it's one of those deals where it's just like, watch who's in the room with you before you start like talking about how you should send all these immigrants back, since most of them are not Hispanic, just saying. Next is with my mom living in New York. She got into computer programming pretty young. My grandmother bought her first computer, and it would take her hours and hours to put in programming and then be able to play a game. And once you turned it off, it'd be reset. So she'd have to do that every single day. And that's really what taught her how to do all that. So yeah, and my grandmother wasn't a very generous woman, so that was a really nice thing that she did for my mom. She was, from what all my mom says, she was a little bit of a crazy woman. With the Hispanic line, they're a little blunt, aggressive type thing. So my mom got beat a lot, and one of the stories that she would tell me was that the rats were very huge. When she was little, she didn't know that it was a rat. She thought it was a dog. And she was playing with one, and my grandma got very, very mad at her. It was like, why are you playing with a dirty rat, My mom didn't know any different. So, my grandmother was borderline schizophrenic. She believed things were there that weren't. And my mother had to take care of her till she was 19, and she left home and never looked back. And at 19, she joined the military, and after meeting my brother's father, and they had a baby, and my mother had to leave the military because his father had gotten into a car accident and couldn't take care of the baby, and the baby was sick. So my mother didn't get any benefits from the military for doing all that work, because she had to go home and take care of her kid because no one else could. Very loud. But yeah, so like none of that was very good, and my mom had to do it all on her own, and eventually they ended up separating because, well, cheating and such like that. So my mother left my younger brother at 3 to be with that family. She thought that he could be taken care of better than she could do it. So she left, and she went to Florida to meet my father, mine and my brother's father. So my mother had 3 kids all together. Sorry that was so loud. Hopefully I was heard. But she had my brother first. She was 23, and my father was 19, and they fell madly in love, and he ended up becoming a drug addict and abusive. So when after my brother was born and I was in my mother's womb, my father only believed in the goodness of a male heir. He didn't care about other races. He didn't care about women or anything like that. He told my mother that because her skin was so white, that she was white. That even though she was full Hispanic woman, half Costa Rican, half Puerto Rican, that she didn't count. And that he would never accept my mother's son into our lives because he was half black. And so after having his first son, and I was in my mother's womb, he beat my mother, and told her, after thinking that she had had a miscarriage, he told her that if I lived, that I was never his. And then he told my mother that if he ever saw her again, he would kill her. So it's like, yeah. The first step to very unfortunate stories of my family. But yeah, my mother met with a police officer, and he said that he would take care of her, that he'd get her far away, so then she could take care of me and my brother. And he pretty much got her to Minnesota, to a battered woman's shelter, and she had me. No one thought she was going to have me. She was only 95 pounds, 9 months pregnant with me. I came a month early. I was a couple pounds underweight, so I wasn't able to leave the hospital for a while because they were afraid that I'd be too sick, which I ended up getting sick like a week later. So as soon as they let me leave, I got sick. But yeah, no one thought my mom was pregnant. 95 pounds with a baby in your belly. Yeah. And it's not like she's that small of a woman anyways. It was just, serious anxiety. And they didn't think I was going to make it, but I did. So that's the end of my first part video. And I hope it makes you think about, certain people's situations. And rather than be feeling pity for me that, my family had to go through this, think about, hey, this could happen to me. I could do this to someone else. Do I want to be that person? And think to yourself, I want to help someone who goes through an issue like that. Always be helpful to people around you. Thought for the day. Bye.